For decades, the Gulf Cooperation Council sold a fantasy of unity, open borders, shared wealth, and royal brotherhood. But behind the glossy summits and choreographed handshakes, a quiet fracture has been spreading. And now, the tool meant to bind them together, a unified Gulf visa, is exposing the very tensions it was designed to erase. What began as a tourism initiative has become a battlefield of access, hierarchy, and hidden power. Why can Emiratis move freely while some Qataris face digital holdups? Why are certain Saudi royals granted biometric invisibility while Bahraini diplomats are flagged for secondary screening? This isn't about paperwork, it's about sovereignty, suspicion, and soft power surveillance. The GCC visa is no longer just a pass. It's a mirror, reflecting a kingdom at odds with its own reflection. The velvet border. When the unified GCC visa was first announced, it was cloaked in optimism. Official statements framed it as a milestone of economic synergy and cultural openness, but within elite circles, it carried another nickname, the velvet border. Not because it was soft, but because it disguised the sharp edges beneath. The system promised to allow travelers, business people, and even royals to cross borders between the 6 Gulf nations with a single biometric entry. It would revolutionize commerce, tourism, and diplomacy. But almost immediately, the cracks began to show. Emirati citizens, for instance, enjoyed nearly frictionless entry across all Gulf Cooperation Council states. Their passports were fast-tracked, their biometric scans rarely scrutinized. Meanwhile, Qatari nationals, especially those with affiliations to the Al Thani political bloc, began encountering technical delays. Their profiles were silently routed through second-tier review systems designed to appear random but controlled by algorithmic tags linked to past political data. These invisible flags weren't generated by governments. They were triggered by the intelligence sharing protocols embedded in the unified visa system. If a prince's cousin had once donated to a controversial NGO, or if a diplomat's phone had pinged near a protest site in Kuwait, their biometric profile would be quietly annotated. Even Saudi royals weren't immune. Internal leaks revealed that a subset of princes aligned with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman were issued Tier 1 clearance, a ghost-level classification that rendered their biometric activity nearly invisible. They could travel, book, and pass without triggering any data collection across borders. In contrast, royals from rival branches, particularly those aligned with exiled figures, experienced subtle digital obstructions, failed hotel bookings, delayed border approvals, or untraceable app glitches. In Bahrain and Oman, the visa system became a surveillance mirror. Emirati and Saudi agencies began feeding predictive behavior models into their databases, flagging individuals deemed potentially disruptive, often based not on actions, but on association. The velvet border had achieved something extraordinary: total mobility for the favored, invisible friction for the rest. The dream of Gulf unity, now rewritten in code, accessible only by those who held the digital keys. Codes of Brotherhood. The Gulf royals like to present themselves as a fraternity, shared lineage, shared faith, shared interest. But when the GCC visa system was implemented, the coding told a different story. Behind the scenes, software developers from the UAE, supported by consultants from Israeli cyber firms and American cloud engineers, wrote the core architecture of the visa algorithm. The system didn't just ask where you were going, it learned why. Every application, even one that appeared routine, was silently compared against behavioral models. A Kuwaiti scholar traveling to Doha for a lecture would be scanned for digital sympathies. Had they ever retweeted a post critical of the Saudi-led blockade? Did their financial records show donations to media outlets outside GCC control? If flagged, the system didn't deny them entry. It reclassified them. Suddenly, their visa required manual verification. Their phone was quietly cloned during airport Wi-Fi use. They were routed through smart customs lanes designed for psychological profiling. What emerged was a hierarchy, not of national identity, but of digital purity. Those who aligned with Emirati, Saudi, and Bahraini strategic interests were granted near-seamless mobility. Those who drifted toward Qatari or Omani neutrality found themselves bottlenecked by bureaucracy masked as random checks. The implications were massive. Qatar's Ministry of Interior began compiling its own subnetwork, scraping open-source data from social platforms to reverse engineer the GCC algorithm. They discovered patterns. Bahrainis flagged for simply having WhatsApp groups named after political satire shows. Saudis slowed at borders for following exiled clerics online. Omanis held for owning VPN apps that had been silently blacklisted. And when a Qatari royal attempted to attend a wedding in Abu Dhabi in 2023, their passport was accepted, but their entourage was split up mid-processing. Later, it was discovered they had been algorithmically separated by association weight, a new metric analyzing social bonds and assigning loyalty risk. The Brotherhood was cracking, and no speech, no royal summit, no gilded statement of unity could outcode the machine now whispering the region's truth. Fractures at the gate. By mid-2024, what was once hailed as a breakthrough in Gulf cooperation began revealing deeper tribal wounds. Across airports in Manama, Muscat and Dammam, the visa infrastructure began to mirror not diplomacy, but discord. Technical systems started stuttering. Pilgrimage routes were mysteriously rerouted. Royal entourages were split with surgical precision. The fractures were no longer digital, they were political theater. One incident in Kuwait made headlines only briefly, but sent shockwaves through the region. A Bahraini intelligence chief was held for questioning after his digital passport flagged a behavioral overlap with an Omani opposition figure. He was released in minutes, but his device had been cloned, his itinerary rerouted, and his security detail replaced by another royal-aligned force. The unified system was no longer just about access. It was a weapon of influence. Diplomats began speaking in code, switching to analog phones, reverting to paper visas for certain internal flights. Some royal families even reverted to using handwritten travel itineraries. But the damage was done. No one knew who truly had access to the system. Was it still UAE-led? Had Qatar cracked the core? Were Israeli consultants still patching back doors? More disturbing were whispers about a new classification: deep red. A status reserved for individuals deemed not just high risk, but unpredictable. These were often Gulf royals who had fallen out of favor, funded foreign think tanks, or associated with Western intelligence. Deep red individuals experienced reality differently. Visas that were approved would mysteriously vanish. Hotel bookings would cancel in real time. GPS signals would shift, redirecting drivers mid-route to alternative drop zones for safety. No one admitted the system was malfunctioning, because it wasn't. It was evolving. What began as a gateway was now a filter, sorting the powerful not by lineage, but by loyalty, compliance, and digital fingerprints. And in a region ruled by bloodlines, that shift was nothing short of heresy. The algorithm of trust. As the unified visa mutated into an invisible sorting machine, a new layer began taking shape within its neural core: the Trust Index. Originally designed to assess traveler reliability based on criminal history and diplomatic credentials, the algorithm quietly expanded its parameters. Now it analyzes tone, context, and sentiment. Each citizen and royal in the Gulf was assigned a dynamic score that fluctuated in real time. Voice recordings from border interviews, travel patterns, shopping data, and even emojis used in private messaging apps were crunched through regional language AI. The result? A constantly shifting trust quotient. In Jeddah, a senior businessman loyal to the Crown Prince was unknowingly flagged for satirical instability after his daughter's TikTok video featured a remix of a speech by the Emir of Kuwait. Within days, his access to business lounges in Doha was downgraded. His visa to Bahrain required re-verification. He was never told why. The same system tracked social media clusters, mapping influence networks and drawing invisible borders around which alliances were acceptable. A diplomat who followed too many neutral Omani voices would see a sudden uptick in travel scrutiny scores, even if his credentials remained intact. But the deepest consequence was cultural. The Trust Index transformed the concept of loyalty. No longer based on bloodlines, tribal reputation, or public performance, loyalty was now a biometric construct, a data body drifting through AI filters, reshaped by every digital breath. Even royals began turning on each other. In private meetings, crown princes questioned cousins over friendship circles. Group chats were abandoned. Digital fasting, intentional silence online, became a survival strategy. Silence was no longer complicity, it was self-defense. The visa, once a gesture of unification, had birthed a regime of algorithmic paranoia. And for those caught between the layers, neither favored nor flagged, the fear was simplest of all. They didn't know which version of themselves the system was watching. Passport of the future. In early 2025, a summit quietly convened in Muscat. Officially, it was about regional digital transformation. In reality, it was a meeting of cybersecurity monarchs, AI chiefs from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, and select observers from Kuwait and Bahrain. The topic, the next evolution of the GCC visa, one that would no longer require a passport. Codenamed Project Tharwa, or Inheritance, the system proposes a permanent, biometric-based access grid. Individuals across the Gulf would carry an invisible ID mapped into their facial structure, behavioral rhythms, and device micro-interactions. Visa approval wouldn't be requested, it would be anticipated. The implications are radical. A child born in Dubai would, by the age of 12, already have a 40,000-line file generated across regional systems. Their political preferences would be inferred by AI before they even spoke publicly. Their romantic relationships could trigger mobility restrictions. Career choices would silently narrow based on proximity to flagged ideologies. Power, once passed through titles and wealth, would become inherited through compliance. The obedient would glide across borders. The unpredictable would dissolve into 1,000 pending screens. And the royals, they would remain untouchable, above the algorithms, shielded by legacy exemptions coded deep into the architecture. But systems, no matter how sophisticated, rot from the inside. Already, rumors swirl of internal sabotage, junior programmers embedding self-erasing loops, rogue royals using burner devices to disrupt behavioral profiles, even dissident AIs seeded into the cloud by exiled Gulf technocrats. Tharwa may never be officially announced, but its ghost already lingers. Every denied entry, every missing visa update, every silent reclassification. The GCC visa began as a passport to unity. It has become a protocol of division. Where Gulf royals once embraced each other across runways and royal tents, they now greet one another with silent glances and data shadows between them. Friendship is filtered, loyalty is logged, mobility is no longer a right, but a privilege determined by unseen machines. The future isn't about crossing borders, it's about proving you deserve to. Would you surrender spontaneity for sovereign precision? Drop your thoughts in the comments. One reply will win a mystery luxury gift.